Hey everybody, welcome to Teach Your Ass Off. I'm Lauren and I'm glad you are watching this. This is part one of a series we're going to call Classroom Management 101. So today is June 3rd, 2014. And today is a good day to start planning because most of you are either closing out the year or you are finished with your school year. And it's time to start thinking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, what was good, what was bad, what do I want to do differently? Most of you, if you've already been teaching, have already thought about that. You know some things you're going to do differently. I certainly do. I can tell you that right now. We'll get into that in another segment. If you are a first-year teacher, whether it's an alternative certification program or you finished your what do they call it? Student teaching. I didn't student teach. Whatever the case may be, you've probably already been planning and you've been thinking a lot about that, and that's a good thing. You need to be thinking. But I want to present this to you first. Classroom management is the key to being a good teacher. The instructional practices and the natural ability to teach and facilitate and differentiate will come with time. That always comes with time. But getting down that classroom management is crucial at this point in time, especially if you're a first-year teacher. I suggest with all passion that you really think about and process through classroom management. Pull out your textbooks, pull out Harry Wong, pull out whatever it is you were trained under, and start marking, highlighting, and making a plan, okay? So what I want to do for you today is, first and foremost, let's differentiate between the two types of classroom management, okay? And then I also want to talk about rules versus procedures, okay? There's two separate things. So let's start off with this idea that really there are two types of classroom management, in my opinion. There are two spectrums of it, we'll say. There is managing the classroom materials, managing the workflow, managing, I don't know, being organized. That's one aspect of classroom management. And it's important. It's good to be organized. Certainly it will help you be efficient in your job, and you'll be able to teach. You'll be able to do what you signed up to do, what you want to do. But the other end of that, and the more important end, the more weighted end of classroom management, is managing behavior. And I'll give you just a quick background from my experience. I was 21 years old. I had no classroom management classes at all. I went through an alternative certification program, and there wasn't one. I had to take all of these special education classes. So I had to take kind of a variety of courses that led me through the spectrum of how to teach students with different disabilities. So my first job was in an ED classroom. So you can imagine what it was like to be 21 years old, a female, and you walk into this classroom with students who have emotional disturbance. And usually those students are pushing the limits, they're pushing the boundaries, and so the behavior can escalate and get out of control. It takes a special person to teach in an ED unit. So if you are watching this and you teach in an ED unit, or you are going into an ED unit, you are blessed, okay? You have been called by the higher powers, and you are blessed. You are there for a reason. Those kids need you. So all that said, after my first year, brought in some consultants, and they worked with me, and in the next 2 years thereafter, I learned how to manage a classroom, and it worked very well with students of a variety of ages. I had my youngest was a third grader, my oldest was a senior. So from, through all of that, it worked very well. So what I learned is we have to distinguish between procedures and rules, okay? So I know Harry Wong talks about that in, I don't know what book it is. I was not trained under Harry Wong. I was trained using Champs, and it is what I recommend. It is an excellent book. It's about the size of a phone book, but it will get you through everything. You know, week by week, literally, it will take you through the whole school year. And it is just an excellent book. So that is Randy Sprick's Champs. I am endorsing and recommending. I am not being paid. This is not a paid advertisement or anything. If it were up to me, I would require that all college classes use Randy Sprick's Champs. It's intense, but it is good stuff, research-based. And he also has a school-wide program, which we can talk about later. So we have to distinguish between procedures and rules. So procedures are things like, how do we go about getting to the bathroom? How do we turn in our papers? When is the appropriate time to get up? When is the appropriate time to talk? What voice levels do we use? Do we use an inside voice? Do we whisper? How does that work? As Randy Sprick, and it was just so beautifully put when I went through his foundations training, which is a school-wide behavior support system. He said there is no universal pencil sharpening policy. Okay, we don't all have the same pencil sharpening policy, so that's why it's important for you to identify your procedures and have them posted. I don't care how old a kid is, put it on the wall, all right? If you're not into decorating, slap your procedure on the wall, then you got a decoration, okay? So we should never penalize or punish a child for not following a procedure. That is an opportunity for you to reteach. So you take them through the procedure and you leave it at that. And that's the end of it, okay? But then we get into rules. And rules are where we really see misconduct. So rules are so important, and it is so critical that you think about how those rules are stated, how you word them, and how vague they are. And by vague, what I mean is something that captures any kind of behavior in any way. So I will share with you now my 3 classroom rules, and they will always be my 3 classroom rules. It doesn't matter if I'm teaching kinder or, you know, senior level literature, or if I was teaching in a college classroom. 3 rules. My 3 classroom rules are: follow instructions immediately. That is a compliance rule. That's what my consultant called that. Always have a compliance rule. And basically when my kids walk in, I tell them, I don't care if I tell you to pick up the chair or the desk and throw it across the room. It's a rule in this classroom that you follow instructions immediately, so I expect you to do it. Obviously, I'm exaggerating and I'm being extreme with them, but I want to get the point across. I expect them to do what I tell them or ask of them. It's better that you ask the first time. All right. The second rule that will protect you, will protect other students, and will protect the violator, the acting out student, we'll call him, is hands, feet, and objects to self. That encompasses everything. Don't hit, kick, spit, bite, touch. You know, I teach in middle school. I don't want kids touching each other, period. I don't care, you know, I just keep your hands off of each other, all right? And so that encompasses everything. And the last rule that is all-encompassing, it is captures everything. Be respectful to all people and property. Don't tear anything up in my classroom. Don't tear someone else's stuff up. And say kind things to each other. You don't have to be disrespectful. So those are 3 rules to get you started, and think of some ideas. I would limit myself, it is my suggestion, that you limit yourself to 5, no more than 5. And I have seen people who have just this long, humongous list of rules. I mean, it's like a constitution of rules. And guys, you can't do that because, well, you can't, how are you going to manage that? How can we manage that? How many rules can we actually manage? I have walked into teachers' classrooms where they've had students make the rules, and I think that's a really good, exercise in building teamwork and building community and all of that stuff. But then you've got like a list of 10 rules that you have to keep up with. And as a teacher, it is critical, absolutely critical, that you be fair and that all the rules apply to everyone. I promise you this, if you are a first-year teacher watching this, you will have favorites, okay? And there are going to be some kids that you're indifferent about. There are going to be some kids you don't like, all right? And they can never know anyway. And kids are savvy. They are sharp, and they can pick up on it like no other. So keeping those rules in place and making everybody abide by those rules is absolutely essential. And keeping them limited is a good way for you to make sure that happens, so that you're not accused of playing favorites, because you don't want that to happen. That's not a good situation to be in. I want to leave you with a challenge. I want you to identify procedures. I want you to identify rules. And the challenge with the rules is going to be this: state them positively. So don't use any negatives in your rules. Just keep my 3 rules in mind. Keep hands, feet, and objects to self. Follow instructions immediately, and respect all people and property. And remember to include a compliance rule. That will be your very best friend. All right. So take on that challenge, and when we come back, we will talk about the next phase. So you guys have a great day.